Alright, first thing, so yes, it is good that you're practicing the modes. It's all starting on A, and so on, but because working on playing leads is going to be a big thing, good idea, start practicing your modes in key. So basically, you want to be able to do this. Of course, I'm going up a higher octave that we didn't cover yet, but anyway, yeah, you want to be able to run through one after the next eventually. Try playing each shape slow enough and watching your right hand, so you're making sure you're doing the back and forth the whole time. So we got 6 patterns to work on this week. Again, use your metronome, max out on one, and then go to the next. So just keep maxing out on each one before you move on to the next one. So just in case you need to see and hear how it goes, here's the first one. Second one. Third one. Fourth one. Grab the next page. Alright. Fifth one. And the final. So the great thing about those is not only will you be working on your alternate picking, really good finger exercises as well. So you're going to be working on both your right hand speed and accuracy with the alternate picking, as well as getting your left hand more nimble. So, started doing the chord theory stuff, so some things to remember. Like with the major scale formula exercise sheets, remember we used all 7 note names in our musical alphabet, and when you do that, or when you are doing that, you'll never have a missed note. Like, you won't skip a note and you won't duplicate any notes, which is why sometimes you can have a B sharp or an E sharp. When you write stuff out that happens in the major scale, that comes from the major scale, you will never mix sharps and flats, like you pointed out. And this is something very important to remember when you are writing out all the notes that make up all those chords on that sheet that you're working on this week. So when you're doing the chord formula stuff, when you are writing out all 3 notes that make all those major chords, the minor chords, the diminished, and the augmented, you will not mix sharps and flats together on that one. For everything that comes from the major scale. So remember, only the major, minor, and diminished triads are found from the makings of the major scale. The augmented doesn't. So you might find something different on that one. The other thing is, when you are writing out the proper names for the notes that equal those chords, you're basically skipping every other note. So you can't like that A chord, for example. Remember, it was A, C sharp, and E that make an A major triad, not A, D flat, and E. Because, well, I won't get into that right now, but just basically, you know something's off if, like, you have like something right next to each other note-wise, like D flat to E. Nothing was skipped there. There's nothing in between D flat and E, so that would be a good sign something is off. So as you are putting those things together, that's something to keep in mind. Make sure you skip every other note name. So and it's okay. It might be a sharp or a natural or a flat or whatever, depending on what it is. But there will always be a note name skipped. Like if it starts with an A, it has to be A something, C something, E something. If it starts with an F, then it has to be A something and then C something. Has to be. So, the third example, let's say it starts on a B flat. So you start with the B flat. Well, you still have to skip over the C to D something, and then you go from the D, you skip over the E to F something. So it's got to be B flat and then D something, F something. Has to. Something else I wanted to say about that. Right. So you keep using the major scale over and over and over again. So what I end up doing, or what I did when I was learning this stuff and how I show everybody else, the easiest thing to do is move that major scale shape around and start it on, and you can start it on the E or the A string and you'll wind up with the same shape as long as you're going up only to that octave of the root note. Starting it on every note for each chord you're figuring out is very helpful because you get to see on the fretboard where everything is. It also helps you get familiar with the notes on the fretboard more. You know a bit about theory already, but one thing I tend to have people do, especially when they're new to this, and if you think this will help, go ahead and give it a try. But like when you move to the minor chord stuff, let's say G minor, for example. So I always have everyone start off by still going the 1, 2, 3 notes up in the major scale, so that everyone sees that they just went up 1, 2, 3 degrees in the major scale, so they're on the third interval. So the minor chord has a flat 3, right? So we go 1, 2, 3, and then flat it. So I like having people do that, so that it really brings home the point that you're flatting that third. Because one mistake I've seen people make eventually, and it doesn't happen with everyone, but every now and then people will they'll cut corners, and they'll go up just the minor third distance to begin with, and then they forgot that this is already a flat 3, so they go and flat that one, and so they end up writing the second interval instead of the actual flat 3. So that's why I think it's good to go up 1, 2, 3, and then flat that 3 when you're working with a minor chord, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this way you go right up to the 5th interval, starting on whatever note it is. So like the G minor would be a G, B flat, and D. I think that about covers it all. Well, I saw you were doing some triad shapes today too, so after we go through everything that you filled out next week, we'll take the triad shapes and show you how everything lays out in key, which is not only great for coming up with rhythm stuff, but really helpful when it comes to playing lead, because a lot of lead stuff is based on arpeggios, and like you said, just playing one note of a chord at a time. Well, I think that covers it. Let me know if you got any questions, and we'll see you next week.